Like this don't. Okay. Oh, so loud. Okay, let's talk about this. All right, let's talk. Okay, we're live now. Today's show we're gonna talk about is Argentina racism, and I shall speak was called the N word. All right, let's talk about this now. Now, I just seen the video of the I shall speak called was called the N word. Now, it's exactly why I said this before. No matter what countries you go to, you get looked at as the N word. So, um, we're gonna play this video right here. Now I'm gonna give my commentary on this. I'm gonna play the whole video. Hopefully YouTube don't flag it for hate speech. Here we go.
Turn on any Argentina match. Look at the team that Messi captained to a World Cup. Now look at Brazil, right next door, a team that has always been full of black players. Same continent, neighboring countries, both football obsessed. But one team is almost entirely white and the other is not. And most people watching have quietly wondered the same thing without ever saying it out loud. Where are the black Argentines? Here is the answer that Argentina spent 150 years trying to bury. It is not that black people never lived in Argentina. It is that in the early 1800s, black people made up nearly a third of the entire country, and in some cities, half. Half. And then within a few generations, they seemingly vanished from the national picture. What happened to them is one of the most disturbing demographic stories in the Western Hemisphere. And the reason you don't see black players on Argentina's team today traces directly back to a deliberate national project to make an entire people disappear, not just from the country, but from its memory. This is Black Culture Unlocked. Subscribe. Let's go. Start with the numbers because the numbers are staggering. In the late 1700s and early 1800s, Argentina was not a white country. Afro-Argentines, descendants of enslaved Africans, brought through the ports of Buenos Aires and Montevideo, made up a massive share of the population. According to census records from the period, black and mixed-race people accounted for over 50% of the population in cities like Santiago del Estero and Catamarca. In Buenos Aires itself, the capital, Afro-descendants made up roughly a third of the city, and in some age brackets and some years, closer to half. The 1810 census showed that among people aged 10 to 29 in Buenos Aires, black residents outnumbered white residents. This was a black city, a black region, a black country, in significant part. The African influence went far beyond numbers. The tango, the single most iconic cultural export Argentina has ever produced, the dance that defines the country's image around the world, has deep African roots. It emerged in part from candombe, an Afro-Argentine drumming and dance tradition brought by enslaved Africans. The milonga, a crucial building block of tango, developed within black communities. The most recognizable symbol of Argentine national identity was born in part from the very people the country would later pretend never existed. So what happened? How does a population go from a third of the country to less than 1% in 100 years? The honest answer has several parts, and I am going to give you the real history, not the exaggerated version, because the real version is damning enough on its own. The first factor was Yukior. In the 1860s, Argentina entered the War of the Triple Alliance against Paraguay, the bloodiest interstate war in Latin American history, and Afro-Argentine men were conscripted and sent to the front lines in wildly disproportionate numbers. They were used as frontline infantry, the position most likely to be killed. Thousands of Black Argentine men died in that war, many with minimal military training, placed deliberately in the deadliest positions. The same pattern held in the Wars of Independence decades earlier. When General San Martin led the army that helped liberate Chile from Spanish rule, historians estimate that half of his soldiers were formerly enslaved men granted freedom in exchange for military service that got a huge number of them killed. Black men were free to die for the nation. They were not free to live in it. If you are learning something from this, subscribe and hit that like button. Let's keep going. The war deaths created something demographers call a gender gap. So many Black men died in these conflicts that the Afro-Argentine community was left with far more women than men. And this had a cascading effect. Black women with fewer Black men available increasingly had children with white men, particularly the wave of European immigrants arriving in Argentina. Over generations, this intermixing meant that the descendants of Afro-Argentines grew progressively lighter-skinned and were increasingly classified by the census, by society, and eventually by themselves as white or as something other than Black. The second factor was disease. Buenos Aires was hit by cholera epidemics in 1861 and 1864, and then a catastrophic yellow fever epidemic in 1871. These outbreaks devastated the overcrowded, poorly served neighborhoods where Black Argentines were concentrated. And this is where deliberate policy enters the picture, because those neighborhoods were overcrowded and underserved by design. Afro-Argentines had been systematically segregated into areas with inadequate infrastructure and almost no health care, which meant that when the epidemics came, they died at far higher rates than the white population. The disease was natural. The conditions that made it so deadly for Black communities were not. The third factor, and this is the one that ties it all together, was a deliberate national project called blanqueamiento, whitening. This was official government policy. Argentina's ruling class, looking at Europe as their model of civilization, decided that the future of the country was white, and they engineered it. The most aggressive proponent was Domingo Faustino Sarmiento, who served as president from 1868 to 1874. Sarmiento was an open and unapologetic advocate of European racial supremacy. In his private diary in 1848, he wrote coldly about the problem of Black populations, questioning what was to be done with people he described as hated by the white race. As president, he pursued policies that marginalized Afro-Argentines and, critically, opened the floodgates to mass European immigration. That immigration policy was the masterstroke of erasure. Between roughly 1870 and 1930, Argentina brought in millions of European immigrants, Italians, Spaniards, Germans, and others. The population of the country was deliberately flooded with white Europeans, with the explicit goal of diluting and overwhelming the existing Black and mixed-race population. You did not need to kill a population to make it disappear if you could simply drown it in a sea of new arrivals and then intermarry it out of visible existence over a few generations. That is what Argentina did. It imported whiteness at industrial scale. And then came the final act, the erasure from memory. This is the part that separates Argentina's story from almost anywhere else. The Argentine state and society did not just reduce the Black population, it rewrote history to pretend the Black population had never meaningfully existed at all. In 1905, a popular magazine ran an article triumphantly declaring the disappearance of Black Argentines, using the metaphor that the African tree had now produced white flowers. The census simply stopped counting African descent as a category. School books omitted the Afro-Argentine contribution to the nation. The tango's Black origins were minimized or attributed to Europeans. An entire people, their labor, their culture, their music, their military sacrifice, their very presence, was written out of the national story so thoroughly that today, Most Argentines genuinely believe their country never had a significant black population, and that the few Africans who were there simply left on their own. That is the myth. And here's the truth that modern researchers have uncovered: they did not leave. They did not all die. Recent genetic studies and rigorous historical scholarship have shown that a significant portion of the Argentine population carries African ancestry that has been hidden, ignored, or forgotten. Studies have found that a meaningful percentage of Argentines who identify as fully white actually carry African genetic markers, the descendants of those Afro-Argentines who were mixed and reclassified out of existence over the generations. The people did not vanish. They were absorbed, relabeled, and erased from the record while their actual descendants walked around believing they were purely European. So now connect it back to the football pitch. When you watch Argentina play and wonder why the team is almost entirely white while Brazil's is not, you are looking at the visible result of a deliberate, century-long project. Brazil received far more enslaved Africans than almost anywhere in the Americas and never pursued erasure with the same totality, so Brazil's black population remained large, visible, and central to its national identity, including its football. Argentina took the opposite path. It reduced its black population through disproportionate war deaths and disease, diluted it through engineered mass European immigration, mixed it through a skewed gender ratio, and then erased the memory of it through official policy and national myth-making. The result is a country that produced one of the greatest football teams in history and fielded it almost entirely with the descendants of the Europeans who were brought in specifically to replace the people who were there first. The black Argentines who built the ports, fought the wars, and created the tango are not on the team because the country spent 150 years making sure their descendants would either be classified as white or forgotten entirely. And there is a resurgence happening now. Afro-Argentine activists, historians, and organizations are working to recover this buried history. They are pushing for recognition in the census. A recent count identified over 300,000 people willing to identify as Afro-descendant, a number that grows as the erasure is challenged and people reclaim an identity their ancestors were pressured to abandon. Scholars are exhuming the African roots of the tango. Universities are studying the demographic vanishing act that made Argentina one of the whitest nations in a region built substantially on African labor. The tree that was supposed to produce only white flowers is being reminded of its roots. The shocking reason Argentina has almost no black players is not a mystery of genetics or geography or coincidence. It is the visible, living evidence of one of the most successful campaigns of demographic and historical erasure ever carried out in the Western Hemisphere. A country looked at a population that made up a third of its people and decided that population had no place in its future, and then it engineered a future in which that population disappeared from sight and from memory. What you see on the football pitch is not an accident. It is a monument to what was erased. They were half of some cities. They created the national dance. They died in the nation's wars. And the country repaid them by pretending they were never there. Now you know why you don't see them on the team. And now you know they were there all along. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who has watched Argentina play 100 times and never once asked where the black players went, because the answer is a story that Argentina spent a century and a half trying to make sure nobody would ever tell. This is Black Culture Unlocked. Truth, real history, real awareness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we're gonna play that other video too. Hold on. But I'm telling you, man, we got racism in every country, and these white supremacists not playing. That's why I try to tell black people we gotta come together as a people. You know, they're calling black people niggas and all this stuff. Oh yeah, I found a video. I show speed getting called a racial slur. Here we go.
At the World Cup, an Argentina fan racially abused popular Twitch streamer iShowSpeed. One young fan even gave him the double bird. When Argentina took on Cape Verde, the fan allegedly told Speed, an American, to, quote, go home. One report stated the fan was heard telling Speed to go cry at the zoo, a phrase widely flagged online as carrying racist undertones, wrote the Griot. There was yet another video that went viral in the aftermath of this entire fiasco with the fans and Speed.
Vinicius Junior. Vinicius. 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 Te hace electrocutar, Vinicius. Ah, no, así hacen los cerdos. Ese es el Mbappé. Vinicius.
De la cola.
Vinicius, no te me electrocutes. Vinicius! Vinicius!
Where a young child calls a monkey walking across an electrical wire star Brazilian winger Vinicius Jr. Many would even remember Argentina's Enzo Fernandez posting himself and some members of the team celebrating like this after winning the Copa. The lyrics to that song that they sang on that bus? Listen, spread the word. They play in France, but they are all from Angola. They're going to run well. They like to sleep with trans people. Their mom is Nigerian. Their dad is Cameroonian, but on the passport it says French. Fernandez would then say he is sorry.
Oops. Hold on. My bad.
I want to apologize sincerely for a video posted on my Instagram channel during the national team celebrations. The song includes highly offensive language, and there's absolutely no excuse for these words. I stand against discrimination in all forms and apologize for getting caught up in the euphoria of our Copa America celebrations. That video, that moment, those words do not reflect my beliefs or my character. I am truly sorry. Commenters online also spotted a racist song being sung by Argentina fans in Los Angeles, California.
Los ingleses siempre corrieron, héroes de Malvinas no lo olvidaremos. Juegan los franceses con el documento que fue para Angola si le dan lo bueno. Andamos refumados tomando cerveza, la banda argentina está de la cabeza. Y vamos Argentina, y vamos Argentina, y vamos.
One user transcribed it as follows: "Let the Frenchmen come with the document. Let them play for Angola if they've got the balls. The new banger from the Argentina crowd, messing with the Africans who play for France." This remains an issue, by the way, not just in Argentina, but the world. Anti-black racism. After all, there were only 3 countries to vote against the adoption of a resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade the greatest crime against humanity. Those countries to vote against it were the United States, Argentina, and Israel.
Un hombre negro, una gran responsabilidad, ¿sí? Para luchar por mis derechos, por los derechos de nuestras naciones y dejar el camino lo más abierto posible para acabar con el racismo.
¿Es algo político para usted?
Sí, es social, es político, es cultural, es todo. O sea, en un sistema racista, o sea, no hay plano donde no haya influencia o consecuencias cuando hay un sistema racista.
¿Piensas que las cosas se mejoraron de su tiempo hasta ahorita o es como igualito?
Lo que ha mejorado es la visibilidad. Antes decían que no habíamos, que no existíamos, que no estábamos. Ahora saben que estamos.
Okay.
Eso
es mejor. Pero las cosas...
Hay mucho por delante.
Okay.
From Al Jazeera, Argentina's rejection of reparations is part of a state-sponsored tradition that has organized the nation since its independence based on specific racial hierarchies. They continue, the Argentinian state constructed a national identity that erased and denied large segments of its own population, elevating whiteness into the universal representation of the nation. Even today, a country composed largely of racialized majorities continues to be described institutionally as homogenous European society.
We have to call out the history, the government, and the deep-seated racism that everybody else in Latin America and the world sees, but we continuously deny. There's a major reason why a vast majority of Latin America and the world don't like us. Argentina is easily one of the most racist countries in the world. We are quite literally the Israel of Latin America. Argentina had one of the quietest but most violent genocides in African and indigenous history. Let's stop lying to ourselves. The white Argentina you see today was engineered. It did not just happen naturally. It was a calculated, state-sponsored project of erasure, built on the same foundations of displacement and violence and erasure as America or Israel. Before Europeans showed up, this land belonged to the Diaguita, the Guarani, the Mapuche, and dozens of other indigenous nations. And in the 18th and 19th centuries, African people were a massive part of our fabric. Enslaved Africans were brought here starting in the 1500s. By the early 1800s, black and mulatto residents made up a third of the population nationwide and up to 50% in some of the interior provinces. Where did they go? They didn't just vanish into thin air, they were systematically eliminated. Then came the late 1800s and President Domingo Sarmiento openly pushed blanqueamiento, aka the whitening. The government literally subsidized the migration of over 6 million Europeans, mostly Italians and Spaniards, between the 1860s and 1960s to dilute the surviving black and indigenous populations. After World War II, the government opened its arms to some of the most horrific white supremacists in human history, becoming the primary destination for the Nazi rat lines. Countless Afro-Argentines fled, crossing borders into Uruguay and Brazil, just to find a place where black culture had a visible, established footprint and they could breathe without being treated like ghosts or criminals.
New Lines Mag printed, Argentina did not recognize or see its Afro-descendant population and continues to overlook it today, despite the fact that Maradona, one of Argentina's most iconic players, was of mixed heritage with both indigenous and African ancestry. Argentine racism was addressed in a simplistic manner through class. Maradona was considered black in soul, but not in racial terms, because of his class. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/tytsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.
See, I'm that's exactly why I see these other countries don't even like black people. It's just what it is. Like this don't make any sense. You got these individuals being racist and all this stuff. That's why they don't have no black players. You know why? Because Argentina is a racist stuff in a racist country and outside the countries. Because Argentina, hold on, what? Hold on, hold on, I misspelled it. He happened at the World Cup, which I'm not a biggest fan of them anyway. Argentina fan, they heard racial slurs at I Show Speak, start calling him the N word, and I just heard that they don't like black people too. That's why I try to tell black people these people do not like you. We'll play 2 videos of this. Like that don't make any sense how these females use their racial slurs. Now we're going to play 2 of the videos. Like this don't make any sense, bro. You got these other countries of people just being racist. Oh, let me go ahead. Let me do this. Let me drop the link if somebody will hop on the panel. And I'll pin the link. All right. Now let's go and play this video.
What a football fan. As a matter of fact, I know nothing about football. I just see people chasing an inflated thing. I can't believe I just said that. But honestly, I know nothing about football. I think sometimes I blame my brother. I think he should have taught us a thing or two about football. Now, at least I would have been experiencing what they experience. You know, the craze they have when their team is winning or when their team is losing. But so, and for that reason, I've not like really been following up the World Cup, but I've been hearing bits and pieces about it from my brother and also from my nephew. I've been just hearing about some bit of bits and pieces. Also something related to it. There's something also I had in relation to the World Cup. You know, something relating to injustice just gets my blood boiling. So there's this TL lady in TikTok that I follow. She's a white lady, and she was saying that her and her other white friends, they are rallying against Argentina and they do not want Argentina to win in either of their game. And she was saying the reason that they do not want Argentina to win is because Argentines, they are very racist. They actually hate white people. At that point, I was very surprised because I didn't know white people hate white people. But according to her, white people, if you do not meet their beauty standards, if you don't have blonde hair, if you're not blue eyes, they do not like you. And Argentines, apparently, they are racist to white people. Funny. So Argentina and South Africa, same WhatsApp group, because countries in their continent, they're not really supporting them. South Africa, because for the obvious reasons, the way they've been attacking and assaulting Africans and telling them to go back home. I've covered enough of this injustices of South Africans. Anyway, listen to her.
Everyone wondering why we don't like Argentina. We don't like Argentina because Argentina doesn't like anybody. Argentina doesn't like us. My bad, I misspoke. Argentina doesn't like anyone who isn't white, European white though. Like, it has to be that. If you're Latino, doesn't matter. I put up a video over a year ago about my experience when I spent a few months in Argentina studying. Worst place I ever been, worst people, worst group of people I have ever had the displeasure of being around. Obviously, that's not everybody. I've met some really great people.
You know, it's funny how people profile people because of their beauty standards that they have in their heads. sometimes I ask my who set these beauty standards? Anyway, this is not the first time Argentina has been accused of racism. Back in 2023, the then midfielder Enzo Fernandez was accused of racism. He went on Instagram live and he made chants targeted or directed to black French players. Watch this.
This is the moment an Argentinian footballer sang a chant that led to fellow footballers calling him out for racism. Enzo Fernandez signed for Chelsea back in 2023 for a British record of $140 million. He's part of the Argentina squad that just won the Copa America. While celebrating on the team bus, Fernandez went on Instagram Live, where him and some of his teammates can be seen chanting about players from the French national team. The chant mocks French black players for having parents of African heritage but playing for France.
There's also a very moving clip of a guy from Liberia who lives in Argentina. He lives in the streets of Argentina, and his story is just a sad one. He said that he had a layover in Argentina, and he was detained in Argentina, but he has tried to reach out to Argentines for help, but all they do is just pass him in the streets, and they do not offer any help to him. That is the much they detest black people. Watch this.
In the street because I hardly see Liberians, nobody here to help me.
To help you?
Yeah.
Bro, I hope someone helps you, man.
Yeah.
Hola, amigo. Una Fanta, por favor. So no one here can help you?
Yeah, nobody.
How long have you been here?
I've been here like a couple of years.
Have you suffered any discrimination occur in Argentina?
Yeah, because I live on the street. The street guys, when you're on the street, too much fight, it's very high.
Do you have any friends or family over here?
I used to have some family here.
Yeah.
But they go too much fight,
If that is how they have chosen to live their life, to each their own. But black people, they're not about to apologize for their existence. I mean, it's too much to bear. It's too much to carry. It's too much racism, tribalism. It's too much burden to bear. It's too much burden to carry. But anyway, if that makes them sleep better, if that makes them live better or be happy, to each their own. Anyway, my name is Wangari Njuguna, and thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, Wangari Njuguna. Also, remember to leave your comment. I'll be waiting to read what you have to say about this one. Remember to download our app and sign up today for the latest news right at your fingertips. I'll see you in the next one. Kwaheri.
See, I told you them other countries don't like black people too. So we're gonna play that. We're gonna play the other video. Okay. Reset to something else. Here we go.
I heard someone saying, it's not all Argentina.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
Here, let's click off this. Let's do this. See, this stuff what I'll be talking about people. To all you passport bros, these other countries are racist. I'm just letting y'all know. Like, this don't make any sense. Because they go around calling black people N-words. That's why I try to tell you people in the black community. These people calling us the N-word and all this stuff. These other countries calling us the N-word, and y'all said they want to link in with them. Like, come on, man. They're trying to tell y'all people something. Okay, oh, this is an interesting video right here.
The history of Afro-Argentines dates back to the 16th century when black people, feet chained, were brought from their homelands in Africa to be traded as slaves in Argentina. At the time, Buenos Aires, the capital city of Argentina, had just been founded and trading was the main commercial activity. As the years went by, the numbers of slaves being traded in and out of Buenos Aires increased drastically. As of the 1600s, the slave trade industry had grown so much that about 70% of all trading in Buenos Aires involved importing slaves from Africa. It was only a matter of time before slave trading became a legalized trade in Argentina, extending far into the 1800s. Although the slave trade in Argentina ended in 1813, slavery itself lasted until 1853 before it was finally abolished. When one looks at Buenos Aires now, in its clothing of architectural and structural beauty, it is hard to imagine that it was once an ugly sight during the long years of the black slave trade and trafficking, which increased the black population in the colony. Data recorded in the 1778 census carried out in Argentina by the then Spanish colonial masters showed that about 30% of the people in Buenos Aires were black. By the time the slave trade was ended in the 19th century, black people accounted for 1/3 of the Argentine population, even though many of them were descended from slaves and some were still in slavery. Not only were the blacks a robust community, but they were also involved in and actively influenced the Argentine culture with their African ways. For instance, the popular tango musical style and dance, which was developed in Argentina, has its root traced to the African country of Angola. The belief that black ancestry or descent does not exist in Argentina is expected from a country that claims so much whiteness. This belief sets a logical problem against the claims that the erasure of black history occurred in Argentina. After all, if black people never existed in the country, how could they have disappeared? As it appears, some are still ignorant of facts concerning the history of Afro-Argentines. Nevertheless, this ignorance does not invalidate the fact that a black community existed in Argentina but was erased around the early 20th century. Perhaps a better question would be, was the black account erased from Argentine history, or did Argentina erase its black people from history? One thing is certain, black people did not just vanish from the historical accounts of Argentina. They were written out of it. The real question to be asked then is, how? How was a whole racial population washed out of history? The history-loving mind is so curious that it seeks answers to this question. It is no surprise then that many have tried to give different answers regarding the disappearance of black populace in Argentina, some less satisfactory than others. Truly, the disappearance of the black population occurred in different ways. Few were circumstantial, but some were intentional. These ways are different, yet when combined, give a well-rounded explanation of how Argentina erased its black people from history. These combined methods were demonstrated acts under the umbrella of whitening. Whitening can simply be described as an act of reimagining a race towards whiteness. The rationale behind this act is that there exists some societal privileges that benefit white people compared to people of other races. This ideology holds that the above is true even if both races are exposed to the same social, economic, and political conditions. By implication, it means that black people are of a race inferior to the whites. Also, by extension, the ideology is backed by the belief that black people should be developed by the gradual loss of their black genes through marriages to whites and birthing children who, based on their whiter skin, will be closer to the white construct and standard. Initially, the usage of the word whitening in Argentina was little about color and more about overall attitude and cultural behavior. It made no difference, however, because both interpretations implied led to the discriminative behavior exhibited by white Argentines towards people who were not white. Brushing aside the underlying issues of inequality and racial discrimination, the Argentinian government subtly believed and acted out this ideology. However subtly they may have acted, it is evident today that Argentina has been whitewashed. Independence, which started in 1810, was fought, and in 1816, Argentina gained its independence from Spain. It is well within the realm of possibilities that black men who were at the time still slaves would have been forced into the battlefront and became the greater casualty. Notable among these slave soldiers was Maria Remedios de Val, who fought in the Argentine Independence War along with her husband and sons. Originally, one of the popular answers as to how blacks were erased from Argentine history is the idea that these 18th century wars claimed the lives of many black men who represented the larger part of the black population. Admittedly, black lives were lost in the many wars that happened in Argentina. However, to claim these events solely account for the disappearance of blacks in Argentina is simply an exaggeration, because after the abolishment of slavery in 1853, the black population still made up about 1/3 of the population. It is unlikely, therefore, that the wars were responsible for the drastic fall in the black population after the 1800s. Such exaggerated detail should be expected when historical accounts have been altered and consequently are not trustworthy. Indeed, this exaggerated version is what some believe to be true as to how the black population faded out in Argentina. Very little is known about the state of the black population in Buenos Aires and Argentina after the wars. So poorly considered were the blacks that it appeared the government thought them too insignificant to be included in the national census. Was the black population that low, or were black people just neglected? Perhaps this was the initiating act of what later became racial profiling. At any rate, if the black population really died out due to the wars, though this claim is unsupported by statistics, it is even greater evidence of Argentina's cruel intent and effort to whiten its history. After all, murder is in one's heart before it is in the hand. Resulting from the loss of black lives in the wars, the number of black men who represented the larger part of the black population was greatly reduced. Accordingly, women became the larger part, and as a result, what was once a fairly balanced ratio of women to men had become disproportionate. This, amongst other things, facilitated the rise of interracial marriages in Argentina. Since the number of black men was on the decrease, black women were left with two choices: get married to Argentine men or contest for the few African men who were left. Some chose, if that would be considered a choice, the latter. What is strange are the conclusions that were drawn from this choice. Some have concluded that blacks wanted a place where they belonged. So, after the abolishment of slavery, many of them migrated from Argentina to nearby countries with more predominant acceptance of black people, such as Brazil. Apparently, this conclusion was arrived at because some families were in fact purely black. However, this theory is unsatisfactory and insufficient on its own to explain how the black population completely fizzled out of the history of Argentina. Even if it's true, Is migrating out of a country tantamount to migrating out of the country's history? Well, this scheme believes so. Arguably, one of the most subtle acts taken by the Argentine government to wash its history of blackness was a call for European immigrants. This is a fact attested to by statistics which link 2/3 of the population of Argentina to European immigration. In the 19th century, following the series of wars, Argentina made the call for immigrants from Europe, probably due to the low population of the country that had resulted from the loss of lives in the wars. In 1853, the constitution currently in use by Argentina was approved. Though it had seen the abolishment of slavery, the 25th article of the This limitless access into the country is rightly perceived to be suspicious. Whether at that point, Argentina had intended that the European immigration be used as a means to whitewash its history, as it was already nearing that point, it eventually did. With more European immigrants in Argentina, the prospects for a whiter country were raised. At last, there were more white people to dilute the growing black population, and gradually a new mixed race was created. However, racial profiling would be unavoidable in a country that prides itself deeply on its European heritage, and such was the case in Argentina. The new generation of people born through interracial marriages was referred to as the non-whites, a superficial term that embodied the government's denial of racial diversity which was present in Argentina. If placed on a ranking system, non-whites would be a little higher than pure blacks and whites higher than both. In this way, Argentina set the stage for the commencement of its whitening, with interracial marriages particularly functioning as the whitening cream. One can understand why some blacks sought interracial marriages to climb up the social ladder. What other alternative existed in the face of discrimination? Amongst other lack of rights, black people could not attend universities before the abolition of the slavery in 1853. White children had a longer number of schooling years than black children, and black people had no access to healthcare due to their poor economic and financial state. The rate of infant mortality was higher for black children when compared to whites. The black community lost a higher percentage of its population to cholera and the yellow fever epidemic, which broke out in the years 1864 and 1871 respectively. These health challenges were partly responsible for the disappearance of the black community in Argentina. In like fashion, children with mixed parents of whites and non-whites were seen to have become somewhat whiter, as evident in their lighter skin tone, and could enjoy rights exclusive to the whites. Thus, their social status and that of their descent were raised, with a lesser chance of being discriminated against. At this point, black women had two options: become whiter and access more rights, or continue to be black and suffer discrimination. That was not the first or the last time they would face this alternative, and their choice was always the same. The bait had been designed so cleverly by the Argentine government that anyone would bite. Accompanied with the whitening was a loss in black identity, not just in genetic makeup and skin color, but in consciousness also. That 90% of the people in Argentina today identify to be white is proof that many Argentines are ignorant of their ancestry, so much so that they can't tell if they are indeed white or are descended from Afro-Argentines. The marked racial discrimination that has fed Argentina's erasure of its black history is astounding, and it has caused multiple reverberations for generations. While the lives of black people were lost, the black consciousness and black accounts were also lost to history. In recent times, sequel to the re-emergence of the black community in the 20th century, Afro-Argentines continue to fight to bring back and keep the black account in Argentine history by telling their stories. A memorable feat was achieved when November 8 was assigned by the Argentine legislation to celebrate Maria Remedios de Val, the Afro-Argentine soldier who fought for Argentina during the Argentine War of Independence in the 1810s. Since 2013, November 8, officially referred to as the National Day of Afro-Argentines and African Culture, has served as a day when Argentina revisits and celebrates its African roots. Still, the question of whether Argentina is truly a white country or not persists. This question does not fit into a black or white structure, but one thing is certain. White Argentina will find it very hard to completely get rid of the black footprints in its archives, which is a good thing, especially for the Afro-Argentines who have been denied a substantial part of their ancestral history. We always have more stories like this to talk about, so don't hesitate to like and share this video with your friends. You can subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to receive the latest videos as they drop. Also, if you would like to know more about how Argentina had 5 presidents in just 2 weeks in December 2001, do check out our next video.
All right, we're gonna play another video because that don't make any sense, bro. You got these individuals don't want to talk about things. It's architected racism in that other country, but hey, I just know I knew this when I was growing up. Where'd that video go? Where'd that video go? Where'd that video go? Because I show speed, he got his wake up call. Some other countries calling him the N word. Hold on. Let me do this. Okay, we're gonna play 3 of the. Did not play this video? I never mind. Yeah, I didn't. Okay. I'm gonna play 3 of these videos. We ain't gonna play that video. Get to videos. We're gonna play a couple of videos on this. Because I'm exposing a racist ass. Hold on. No, I can't play no 30-minute video, so all right. Let's play this video right here.
See people chasing an inflated thing. I can't believe I just said that. But honestly, I know nothing about football. I think sometimes I blame my brother. I think he should have taught us a thing or two about football. Now, at least I would have been experiencing what they experience. You know, the craze they have when their team is winning or when their team is losing. But so, and for that reason, I've not like really been following up the World Cup, but I've been hearing bits and pieces about it from my brother and also from my nephew. I've been just hearing about some bit of bits and pieces. Also something related to it. There's something also I had in relation to the World Cup. You know, something relating to injustice just gets my blood boiling. So there's this lady in TikTok that I follow. She's a white lady, and she was saying that her and her other white friends, they're rallying against Argentina, and they do not want Argentina to win in either of their game. And she was saying the reason that they do not want Argentina to win is because Argentines, they're very racist. They actually hate white people. At that point, I was very surprised because I didn't know white people hate white people. But according to her, white people, if you do not meet their beauty standards, if you don't have blonde hair, if you're not blue eyes, they do not like you. And Argentines, apparently, they are racist to white people. Funny. So Argentina and South Africa, same WhatsApp group, because countries in their continent, they're not really supporting them. South Africa, because for the obvious reasons, the way they've been attacking and assaulting Africans and telling them to go back home. I've covered enough of this injustices of South Africans. Anyway, listen to her.
Everyone wondering why we don't like Argentina. We don't like Argentina because Argentina doesn't like anybody. Argentina doesn't like us. My bad, I misspoke. Argentina doesn't like anyone who isn't white, European white though. Like, it has to be that. If you're Latino, doesn't matter. I put up a video over a year ago about my experience when I spent a few months in Argentina studying. Worst place I ever been, worst people, worst group of people I have ever had the displeasure of being around. Obviously, that's not everybody. I've met some really great people.
You know, it's funny how people profile people because of their beauty standards that they have in their heads. Sometimes I ask myself, who set these beauty standards? Anyway, this is not the first time Argentina has been accused of racism. Back in 2023, the then midfielder Enzo Fernandez was accused of racism. He went on Instagram live and he made chants targeted or directed to black French players. Watch this.
This is the moment an Argentinian footballer sang a chant that led to fellow footballers calling him out for racism. Enzo Fernandez signed for Chelsea back in 2023 for a British record of $140 million. He's part of the Argentina squad that just won the Copa America. While celebrating on the team bus, Fernandez went on Instagram Live, where him and some of his teammates can be seen chanting about players from the French national team. The chant mocks French black players, for having parents of African heritage but playing for France.
There's also a very moving clip of a guy from Liberia who lives in Argentina. He lives in the streets of Argentina, and his story is just a sad one. He said that he had a layover in Argentina, and he was detained in Argentina, but he has tried to reach out to Argentines for help, but all they do is just pass him in the streets, and they do not offer any help to him. That is the much they detest black people. Watch this.
In the street because I hardly see Liberians, nobody here to help me.
To help you?
Yeah.
Bro, I hope someone helps you, man.
Yeah.
Hola, amigo. Una Fanta, por favor. So no one here can help you?
Yeah, nobody.
How long have you been here?
I've been here like a couple of years.
Have you suffered any discrimination occur in Argentina?
Yeah, because I live on the street. The street guys, when you're on the street, too much fight, it's very hard.
Do you have any friends or family over here?
I used to have some family here.
Yeah.
But they go too much fight,
If that is how they have chosen to live their life, to each their own. But black people, they're not about to apologize for their existence. I mean, it's too much to bear. It's too much to carry. It's too much racism, tribalism. It's too much burden to bear. It's too much burden to carry. But anyway, if that makes them sleep better, if that makes them live better or be happy, to each their own. Anyway, my name is Wangari Njuguna, and thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, Wangari Njuguna. Also, remember to leave your comment. I'll be waiting to read what you have to say about this one. Remember to download our app and sign up today for the latest news right at your fingertips. I'll see you in the next one. Kwaheri ya kuonana.
This video
of March 2026, the United Nations adopted the landmark resolution recognizing transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. And this was proposed by Ghana's President John Mahama, and it was passed. The resolution was passed with 123 votes in favor, 52 abstentions, and 3 nations voted against it. 3 nations voted against it. We're talking about the US, Israel, and Argentina. And we want to talk about Argentina. Why Argentina was in that circle. In the 18th and 19th century, Argentina had significantly higher black population, but right now...
Wrong one, hold on. Oh, this one right here. Click off this. All right, let's play this video.
Player Gianluca Prestiani has been banned by the UEFA, and the reason behind the ban is because of a racist comment that he made towards Vinny Jr., a black player. Watch this clip, we'll come back and discuss. On that clip, you see Gianluca covering his mouth to say monkey to the black player, and the black player ended up breaking down. The black player is called Vinny Jr. People love him. People were celebrating him even after this fact. They were standing up for him. They were coming out and giving their voice and pushing the association to do something about it. Hence why I think they banned the other player, though it's not like an indefinite ban. It's just one game that he's suspended from, but it's still something, because usually whenever these footballers are being racist towards their fellow footballers, nothing usually happens in these European leagues and Cup of Nations. So I'm glad that there's something that is being done. It's because of the backlash as well. And there was a witness, Mbappe, another famous football star, that came out and said he actually heard him say that. The reason why he was covering his mouth is so that the cameras don't capture it when he's slurring or insulting his fellow football star. Unfortunately, the young man broke down crying when he was giving a press conference because it really hurt him deeply.
He has asked about the weight that the anti-racist struggle has in his life. If it has more or less weight than playing football, and he says yes, playing football on the one hand, but the anti-racist struggle is very important. What he wants is for people of color to have a normal life.
It's unfortunate that we live in a world where professionalism is out the way. No one cares if you are just busy being yourself, busy doing what you're supposed to do. This guy was minding his business, playing football, right? And then he has to deal with people like Gianluca. Anyways, fam, let us know down below what your thoughts are about this. I am Ongil Zalalam. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Ya parece,
Ahí está.
parece que recién le compraron y que venga a hacer el show.
Sí.
Acaba de bajarse del barco.
Pega el show, dice.
Borra eso. Sos
Eso no
mala.
lo editen.
Sos
maldita,
Mira, y el
¿no?
otro ahí. El otro, el monito. El monito del barco. Ahí está, el monito y la que acaban de comprar. Ahí está.
Te salvó.
Parece que no me escuchan, boludo. Sí. Ahí está.
Y es que la otra no sabe qué hace para caer bien.
Gracias por
la cuchillera.
rescatarme. Gracias por... Ahí estaba creyendo que así la van a salvar. Lo único que puede hacer ahora es mover el culo.
A tu compañera con esclavitud es una ofensa que no voy a consentir. Aun cuando haya sido formulada en forma de broma. ¿Y saben por qué? Porque con este tipo de temas no se bromea, señores. Así como la esclavitud fue abolida hace muchísimos años, hay prejuicios que también deberían ser extinguidos para siempre. Para siempre. Quiero que sepas, Carmina, que analicé muy detalladamente todo lo que dijiste y no hay ningún lugar a dudas acerca de la gravedad de estos hechos. Estás expulsada de mi casa. Te repito, debes abandonar la competencia. Dirigite hacia la puerta giratoria en este mismo instante. Las pertenencias te serán entregadas afuera.
Now, this particular scene, it's in Big Brother Argentina. It is written in that clip. And I watched that scene over and over again in total disbelief, because a full-grown woman calling her fellow contestant a monkey. We're still doing this in 2026, seriously? And what hurts me the most is a guy who laughed. He was cheering on. He was cheering on the racist remarks. He was applauding the lady. And I love that they expelled the lady. That was a bold move. It was necessary. It was long overdue. But I felt that the whole circle was not held accountable. The guy who there's no difference between the lady who called the other person a monkey and the guy who laughed. There's no difference at all. The one who laughed was applauding it. He was inviting the remarks. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. This was intentional, aimed at humiliating a fellow contestant. And the fact that others laughed, racism is not always loud, it's subtle, it's enabled and it's celebrated by silence or laughter. Words like this carry history. They remind people of centuries of oppression, of being dehumanized, of constantly fighting to be seen as human. When a grown adult uses them casually, it's not just ignorance, it's cruelty. And let us not forget those who laughed. Laughing does not make you innocent. Laughing is agreement. Laughing is cheering on the abuse. Accountability does not just stop at the person who spoke the words. It extends to everyone who enabled it. And I love that the woman was expelled. And clearly, you know how she walked. You see how she walked, and she was not even remorseful about it. But I wish the punishment had extended further. Racism doesn't exist in isolation. It thrives in groups. If you're laughing, you're part of the problem. And this is a lesson for all of us. Scenes like this, they remind us that racism is not just a headline. It's everywhere. Even in spaces meant for entertainment, we have to call it out. We have to hold people accountable. Silence or laughter. That's complicity. Don't let it slide. My takeaway for this one, it goes to Big Brother Argentina. And I will tell you this. One expelled is not enough. We need to see the whole circle expelled also. Everyone who laughed enabled the racist remarks. Everyone who cheered on, they need to face also, they need to be expelled also. Racism thrives in silence and cheerleaders. My name is Wangari Njuguna and thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, Wangari Njuguna. Also download our app and sign up today for the latest news right at your fingertips. Also remember to leave your comment. I'll be waiting to read what you have to say about this one. I'll see you in the next one. Kwaherin.
Uh-oh.
World at how God works. And karma is such a bitch. It serves people right. It comes at the right time. You know, if you do me wrong, I don't bother. I know karma is coming for you. You know, I have been following this story, this particular story that I want to share with you. Now, this story, it happened in mid-January in Brazil. So what happened is that this Argentine babe went to Brazil for holiday and she went to a bar. And during her stay or her time, that her moment in the bar, she had an altercation with the bar staff, with the staff of the bar. And she made racist comments. She insulted one of the attendants there and she made monkey gestures at the staff. And in Brazil, it's such a serious crime. Racism is such a serious crime. So this particular moment was captured on camera. It was recorded and it went viral. She was arrested. Her passport was confiscated. It was seized. And she had to wear an anklet, an ankle monitor. And she faced up to 5 years in prison. Let me just give you a recap of what happened on that day. After watching this video, I knew that things would not be easy for her. I knew she would be in for it because Brazil does not play with racists. And honestly, I feel that racists, they deserve this and more. They have a special place in hell. They don't deserve to live. That is just me. They honestly do not deserve to live. Because why would you feel that someone is a lesser human being just because of their skin color? And I'm actually thrilled of how things unfolded in Brazil. Because she deserved this, she deserved more. So this story has taken another direction. I'm actually happy with the way things are unfolding. So after 2 months of under strict judicial restrictions, she has finally paid a court-ordered bail of around 18,500 USD. And with that, her anklet was removed, her passports returned, and she has finally been allowed to return home to Argentina and accompanied by her lawyer. But don't be fooled, the legal case is far from over. She remains a defendant in Brazil with criminal proceedings still ongoing and must comply with all judicial requirements. And this is what happens when you disrespect others and when you try to dehumanize them. Karma is real, justice is real, and in this case, it hit exactly where it should. Racists deserve this and more. Let this be a lesson. You cannot humiliate, demean, or insult others and expect to get away with it. I was watching this video of how, when she got deported, journalists caught up with her and she was there, answering the journalists' questions. She was there looking small, looking all defeated. Watch this.
Y no solo era...
¿Temías no volver a la Argentina, quedar presa en Brasil?
Imagínense que tenía una condena de 15 años.
Claro.
Pedían que se me condene por 15 años. Tenía terror. Y no solo era el terror de ir a la cárcel, sino el terror de salir a la calle.
¿Crees que la condena era más social que otra cosa?
Sí, 100%.
¿Vas a demandar al gobierno brasileño a partir de todo esto por el uso de tu imagen en el spot de campaña?
Eso no sé, seguramente sí, pero la verdad que...
¿Cómo crees que se trató en los medios acá en Argentina?
Al principio obviamente y entendible mal, con mucho repudio, pero después con el contexto y bueno, los argentinos nos conocemos, sabemos que nosotros tenemos invisibilizado el racismo, pero bueno, ahora con esto creo que es mucho más visible y bueno, espero que aprendan y yo me voy a encargar también de alzar la voz por...
Reflecting on this story, my takeaway for this story, karma is real, justice is real, and racism always comes at a price. And I'm happy, I'm thrilled with the way things have unfolded with this one. We are also coming for you. You're racist. We're also coming for you. Anyway, my name is Wangari Njuguna, and thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, remember to leave your comment, and also remember to download our app and sign up today for the latest news right at your fingertips. I'll be waiting to read your comments. I'll see you in the next one.
Participation in public policies. The head of INADI, Greta Pena, received Depura Bruna Liege da Silva Rodriguez, an Afro-descendant woman from the Federative Republic of Brazil. At the headquarters of the National Institute Against Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Racism, INADI, a breakfast was held to talk about gender and racism participation in public policies, with the aim of promoting coordination and political dialogue in a fight against racism and the promotion of the participation of Afro women, as well as to exchange experiences with the different areas of the state for the construction of policies with an ethno-racial and anti-racist perspective. The meeting, organized by the Coordination of International Affairs in charge of Carlos Alvarez, was led by the head of the organization, Greta Pena, together with the deputy of the legislature of the state of Rio Grande do Sul and the Brazilian Communist Party, Bruna Liege da Silva Rodriguez, who is on an official visit to the country. At the opening of the activity, Greta Pena shared with the pride of being able to debate anti-racist policies, and she added, "We want to make sure visible and raise awareness of our Afro roots, of Native people, and that we must work in an interversal and intersectional way from education." Also participating from INADI, Dario Arias, Director of Policies and Practices Against Discrimination, Silvina Madaleno, Coordinator of Programs and Projects Against Discrimination and Afro-descendant workers of the agency. Madaleno highlighted the importance of constituting an Argentinian identity that contemplates the Afro roots that we have. What do I think? What do I really think? Well, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say, especially from Argentina. So what do I really think? I think it's amazing that worldwide people is pushing back against racial discrimination, and especially in a country like Argentina. Well known in Latin America, but they're snobbish. Where their president, Alberto Fernandez, caused a huge controversy back in June 2021. When in a meeting with the Spanish president, Pedro Sanchez, he affirmed that the Mexicans came from the Indians, the Brazilians came from the jungle, but the Argentinians came from the ships. They were ships that came from Europe. The president's words, you can Google it, to later apologize on Twitter after experiencing a huge backlash where he was accused of ignoring and making invisible the descendants of Native people, Afro-descendants, and in general, all those who are not represented in the idea of a white and European Argentina. If you ask the average Argentinian about the Afro-descendant community, they would answer, there are no blacks here. They will say that, there are no blacks here. Although it is true that historically the percentage of the black population in that country has been much lower than other Latin American nations, but things were different back in the colonial time. According to historical records, 200 years ago, in cities like Buenos Aires and Santiago, blacks came to represent more than 20% of the population, a figure that could reach 60% in other places where slave labor brought from Africa was critical to the local economies. So when you, Mr. President Alberto Fernandez, are so proud to say that your ancestry came from European ships, also remember that those same ancestors came to steal the land where you today stand. And those ships were loaded with African blacks that built the economy that today you continue to enjoy. And just to close Mr. President's ignorance, recent studies have estimated the partially black population in Argentina is 2 million people, which is 5% of the total population, and up to 10% who have at least Afro-descendant, Afro-Argentinian ancestors. Those are blacks that also came in ships, in the same ships that you are so proud of. The ones your ancestors came to steal, slaughter, and build for free, where today you stand. So that's what I have to say about Argentina. And that's what I have to say about their president. And my name is Tuti Berend. You can find me here, in this platform, as Tell with Tuti. You can find me in Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as Tell with Tuti. And here in the African Diaspora News Channel. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you for watching, and I see you next time. Bye-bye.
See, now you have to learn the hard way. These other groups of people in other countries, they don't like you. They never will, never will. I had to learn the hard way. These white supremacists don't even like black people. But I'll just come on here to talk about this because this don't make any sense, bro. How these white supremacists calling us racist names, calling us, like, come on, man. This is exactly why I try to tell black people, man, we gotta come together, stop fighting with each other. Like, this don't make any sense. So I just come here to talk about this. This is exactly why I said to I Show Speed, don't folks did not like you. They call you the N-word. Like, man, it was bad, man. It was bad. But you got other cultures or people don't even like black people. So I just come over to talk about this. So tell me your thoughts about this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment, because that was sad. So with that, on here, click this off. And then we're gonna I'm gonna come back later tomorrow. So with that being said, we out. Peace.